Vater, wir danken dir für diesen Tag und wir danken, dass wir jetzt vor dir kommen können.
We ask that you bless this evening study and you also with our brothers and sisters on their way.
Bitte segne diese Abendandacht und bitte auch segne unsere Geschwister, die auf ihrem Weg sind.
And please help us to come closer to you.
Und bitte hilft uns, dir näher zu kommen.
We ask it in Jesus' name.
Wir bitten und danken in Jesu Namen. Amen.
Okay, notes are in the live stream.
Also die Notizen sind im Livestream.
Somebody wants to just quickly stick it.
I've already did.
Okay, so some of the points in here are some of the points we crossed this morning. We'll just quickly remind ourselves and we'll just move past those things.
Also einige von den Punkten hier in den Notizen haben wir heute Morgen besprochen und wir werden sie nur nochmal erwähnen und dann schnell weitergehen.
Okay, but if we begin turning your Bibles, go to Daniel chapter 10.
Aber in unsere Bibeln gehen wir zu Daniel Kapitel 10.
Now, the purpose of this, what we're going to look at,
Und der Grund, weshalb wir das anschauen werden,
I want us to see that this waymark right here is a parallel to this waymark right here.
ist, dass ich möchte, dass wir sehen, dass diese Wegmarke hier ist eine Parallel zu dieser Wegmarke hier.
Right? So, I've been looking at this, the Millerite history from 1798 to 1844.
Und wir haben angeschaut die Miller-Geschichte hier dargestellt von 1798 bis 1844.
Which is 46 years.
Diese 46
The
Jahre,
seven thunders,
die 7 Donner,
first and second angels'
die
message.
erste und zweite Engelsbotschaft.
That all those things are repeated under the third, which is this right here.
Dass all die Dinge hier, die werden wiederholt unter der dritte Engelsbotschaft, was hier dargestellt ist hier.
But this fractal here is this, right?
Aber diese Fraktal hier ist aber auch das.
Right? This is this.
Und diese Fraktal ist auch das hier.
And of course this last one is also.
Und diese letzte Fraktal auch wieder ist das hier.
In April 1944, which angel was confirmed?
Und auf 19. April 1844, welche Engel würde bekräftigt oder bestätigt?
The second angel. What does the
Der
second
zweite
angel say?
Und was sagt der zweite?
Babylon is fallen, right? Yeah, right?
Babylon ist gefallen, gerade hier.
Okay, August 11th, 1840, and the time of the end, they're all marking this point, right?
Also 11. August 1840, wo der Engel herabkam und auch der Zeit des Endes, alles markiert dieses Punkt hier.
Right?
Amen?
So, we not only got to believe that, we've got to be able to prove it, right?
Also wir mussten nicht nur das glauben, sondern wir mussten es auch beweisen können.
So, in Daniel 10 and verse 1,
In Daniel 10 in Vers 1,
it says, in the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. Right? So, where are we on our line?
so wo sind wir auf unserer Linie?
On this top line, right?
Auf diese Linie hier oben.
Yes, right here, so in line with that one, right?
Also es ist gerade hier am 11. August 1840.
It's the third year of Cyrus,
Das ist
right?
der dritte Jahr von Kyros.
Okay, so, and this is, in Daniel 10, he's basically at the end of this period, and he's now going to give us a rundown of what happened prior to that point, right?
Und hier in Daniel 10 ist er am Ende von dieser Zeitperiode und er gibt uns eine Reihenfolge von das, was vorher geschehen ist. Sorry?
Only in verse 1.
That's all we've read though.
You said Daniel 10. So.
Okay, in Daniel 10, Vers 1.
So, let's go to this next quote from Review and Herald.
So, lasst uns zu diesem in den Notizen Zitat von den Review and Herald gehen.
It says, at the time of Gabriel's visit, The prophet Daniel was unable to receive further instruction, but a few years afterwards, desiring to know more of subjects not yet fully explained, he again set himself to seek light and wisdom from God. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all. Right? So, where's the 3 weeks?
Wo sind diese 3 Wochen?
Sorry?
You mean in the line below or the top line?
No, we're dealing with this to begin with, right?
Or from the wooden waymark till the decree of Cyrus?
Okay, so this is the beginning of the 3rd year of Cyrus, this waymark, right?
Also diese Wegmarke hier, das ist der Anfang vom 3. Jahr von Kyros.
This is when Cyrus becomes king and Daniel sets himself 3 weeks in fasting and prayer until the decree goes into place, right?
Hier wird Kyros zu König und Daniel fastet und betet 3 Wochen, bis der Dekret von Kyros erlassen wird.
Right, that's these 21 days, right?
Diese 21 Tage.
I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all. Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes were as lamps of fire, and his arms as the feet like in colour to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. What vision is that?
Welche Vision ist das hier?
Revelation.
Yes, it's the same as what Isaiah, Ezekiel, all these people see, right? Same vision, right?
Dasselbe, was Jesaja und Hesekiel und die Propheten alle gesehen haben.
Okay, so it says, then it goes on to say, no less a personage than the Son of God appeared to Daniel. This description is similar to that given by John when Christ was revealed to him upon the Isle of Patmos. It tells you right there, right? So, right here, the angel coming down, right, is Christ, right?
Also gerade hier, der Engel, der herabkommt, ist Christus.
Right?
Amen?
Everybody follow? Okay. There's lots of little things that...
18?
No, which in 10?
No. What are we reading, Margaret? We just read. She's paralleling it to the angel of Revelation 10 in that quote.
Also
Right?
sie vergleicht es in diesem Zitat mit der Engel von Offenbarung 10.
But she also parallels it with Revelation 1, right?
Aber sie vergleicht es auch mit Offenbarung 1.
Okay, yes, but the
No,
chapter of Revelation
No,
is
just
all
one.
one vision, right?
No, there's one there.
Yes, but you'll see why I'm saying Revelation 10 in a moment, right?
That also.
Because it says no less a person than the Son of God, right? Okay, so now just come down to the next quote,
Nächste Zitat.
because it says the mighty angel who instructed John was no less a person than Jesus Christ, right? Exact same language, right?
Genau derselbe Sprache.
Okay. Setting his right foot on the sea and his left on the dry land shows the part which he is acting in the what? The closing scenes of the great controversy with Satan. Right? So, whatever this is here, right, marked by Cyrus on August 11th, 1840, it's the closing scenes, right?
Also was auch immer das hier an dieser Wegmarke ist, der durch Kyros am 11. August 1840 markiert ist, sind die abschließenden Szenen.
Right?
Amen?
Pay attention. You need to get this in your mind, right? You're going to be tested on this, not by me, but Christ is going to test you on it, right?
Also aufmerksam sein, denn Christus wird uns hiernach testen.
He says, study to show thyself what, David? Approved, right? He's going to prove you.
So, studiere, approved,
Bewährt.
bewährt zu sein.
Okay. Okay, next quote from Great Controversy 611.
Das nächste Zitat von großer Kampf.
The angel who unites in the proclamation of the third angel's message is to lighten the whole earth with its glory. Which angel is that?
Welcher Engel ist hier von die Rede?
Right, Revelation 18. What does it say?
So.
Revelation 18, Sister
Offenbarung
Lucia.
18. Und was sagt es in Offenbarung 18?
It says, she said that without moving her lips, Margaret. Okay, Babylon is fallen, right?
So, Babylon ist gefallen.
Right, so it's beginning here. It's talking about the angel's going to lighten the earth with its glory. It says a work of worldwide extent and unwanted power is here foretold. What sort of work is it?
Was für ein Werk ist es?
Worldwide.
Worldwide
Weltweit.
and what else? Unwanted power, right?
Weltweit und also äußerst viel Kraft.
Worldwide, and it's got power, right? Yes?
Amen.
Okay. The Advent movement of what? 1840 to 1844 was a glorious manifestation of the power of God. So what's she doing now?
Was tut sie jetzt hier?
She parallels it with Revelation 10,
So,
right?
sie vergleicht das hier jetzt mit Offenbarung 10.
Okay. The first angel's message was carried to every missionary station in the world, right? And in some countries there was the greatest religious interest which has been witnessed in any land since the Reformation of the 16th century. But these are to be exceeded by the mighty movement under the what? The last warning of the third angel, right? Are we following?
Yes.
Jeder folgt?
So I'm just going to write in here, last warning.
Also letzte Warnung.
Okay. Come down to the next quote.
Der nächste Zitat.
Now we went over this morning, we don't have to read it, but this, just let's, at the beginning it says, the prophet says, I saw another angel come down from heaven having great power, the earth was lightened with his glory. This is this very angel, right?
Also spricht hier wieder über denselben Engel.
And next highlighted down in the middle there, the bolded bit says, when do our sins reach unto heaven? When the law of God is made void by legislation.
Wir haben das fettgedruckte inmitten des Satzes gelesen.
And the next bit says, as a satanic power is stirring up the elements from beneath, God will send light and power to his people.
Das
Right?
letzte fettgedruckte auch.
So, we know right here, this is marking this point, the Sunday law crisis, right?
So wir wissen,
All
dass
these
da-
things here are marking here,
Wir
right?
wissen, dass das hier, der Sonntagsgesetzkrise, all das, was hier aufgelistet ist, ist hier markiert.
Right?
Amen.
So it's worldwide, it's the closing scenes,
Es ist weltweit, es sind die abschließenden Szenen,
and it's the last warning,
es
right?
ist der letzte Warner und auch so Power.
Okay. Okay, now go to Daniel 11, verse 40.
Und jetzt in
Your
Daniel
Bibles?
11, Vers 40 in unserer Bibel.
So it says, at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, right? So it's marking where the war between the king of the north, king of the south is going to take place, right?
Markiert der Punkt, wo der König des Nordens und dem König des Südens, der Kampf dazwischen stattfinden wird.
In the next quote, which we read this morning also,
Nächste Zitat in den Notizen, das haben wir auch heute Morgen gelesen.
we are living in a time of the end. Thrones and churches have united to oppose God's
Das
purposes.
ist das erste fettgedruckt.
So we know that this war between the north and the south that took place in the US Civil War,
So,
right?
wir wissen, dass dieser Kampf zwischen Norden und Süden, die in den US-Bürgerkrieg stattfand,
To do with slavery
den Sklaverei,
is the Sunday law crisis. She parallels it to Pharaoh in Egypt,
ist
right?
das Sonntagsgesetzkrise. Sie vergleicht das mit Pharao in Ägypten. Right? Amen.
Pharaoh in Egypt was the Sunday law. Right? She says it
Pharao
very
in
clearly.
Ägypten das markiert das Sonntagsgesetz, sagt Ellen White sehr klar heraus.
They're all pointing to this point, right?
Die alle weisen auf diesen Punkt hin.
So, now what we're doing is we're dealing with this point right here, right?
So, jetzt aber, wir behandeln diese Wegmarke.
So, all these are here, and now Daniel 11:40 is also here. It's the time of the end, right?
All diese hier sind hier markiert und jetzt hier Daniel 11,40, Zeit des Endes ist auch hier.
Right. So, next quote from 13 MR.
Nächstes Zitat, 13 MR, 394.
We have no time to lose. Troublous times are before us. The world is what?
Die Welt ist
Stirred
was?
with the spirit of war. Where are we?
Die Welt ist in Unruhe wegen der Geist des Krieges.
At the Sunday law,
Im
right?
Sonntagsgesetz.
Because she says, soon the scenes of trouble spoken of in the prophecies will take place. The prophecy in the 11th of Daniel has nearly reached its complete fulfillment. So, if we're correct in our assumption, because she says troublous times before us, the world is stirred with the spirit of war, right?
So, wenn wir korrekt sind in unserer Auslegung hier, denn sie sagt, dass Zeiten des Trübsals liegen vor uns.
And if the prophecy of the 11th of Daniel has nearly reached its complete fulfillment, we're at Daniel 11:40, right?
Wenn der Prophetie von Daniel fast seine Erfüllung, seine vollständige Erfüllung erreicht hat, dann sind wir hier am Daniel 11,40.
Because Daniel 11:40 is where the trouble begins, and it's the last few verses of Daniel 11, right?
Daniel 11,40 ist es da, wo das Trübsal beginnt, und es sind die abschließenden Versen von Daniel 40.
It says, much of the history that has taken place in fulfillment of this prophecy will be repeated. She's talking about Daniel 11.
Sie spricht hier über Daniel 11.
In the 30th verse, a power is spoken of that shall be grieved in return and of indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. It's referring to the papacy and the state power, right?
So, sie nimmt Bezug hier auf den Papsttum und den Staatmächten.
She quotes verses 31 to 36,
Und sie
right?
zitiert hier die Verse 31 bis 36.
What's verse 31?
Was ist Vers 31?
What's happened in verse 31 and where does it take us to?
Was geschieht in Vers 31 und wo nimmt uns das hin? Close.
The abomination that makes it desolate.
Okay, that's what it says, but where does it take us to?
Wo bringt uns das hin?
What does in the Bible? Where does it take us to?
Wo bringt uns das hin in der Bibel?
No. Sorry. Okay. In the Bible, where does it take us to?
In der Bibel, wo bringt uns das dahin?
Matthew 24. Why?
Matthäus 24.
Because
Warum?
Christ points you back to this very point in the Scripture, right?
Christus uns in die Schriften darauf hinweist.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Okay. When you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, whosoever readeth, let him understand. Right?
Also, wenn du die Gräuel der Verwüstung siehst, die von Daniel der Prophet gesprochen wird, wer das sieht, der soll es verstehen.
Right?
Amen.
Matthew 24 verse 15.
Matthäus 24, Vers 15.
Where is it marking?
Wo markiert das?
What? The Sunday law. Yes, this time of trouble right here, right?
Sonntagsgesetz, das Zeit des Trübsals gerade hier.
Okay, so she's saying that much of what happened in Daniel is going to be repeated in the last part of Daniel, right?
Sie sagt, vieles, was in Daniel geschehen ist, wird sich wiederholen in der abschließenden Versen von Daniel.
So Daniel 11:40, which marks the time of the end, is marking the point where Daniel 11:31 to 36 is going to be repeated.
So
Right?
Daniel 11,40, was das Zeit des Endes ist, markiert der Zeit, wo Daniel 11, 31 bis 36 sich wiederholen wird.
And 31 and 36 dealing with 538 to 1798.
Und die Verse 31 bis 36 handelt sich über 538 bis 1798.
Or it's dealing with the
The rise
people.
of the papacy.
Well, it's dealing with the time period where God's people were persecuted during that time.
So, handelt sich über die Zeitperiode, wo Gottes Volk in diese Zeitperiode verfolgt wurde.
Okay, next paragraph.
Nächster Absatz.
Scenes similar to those described in these words will take place. So scenes similar to the things described in Daniel 11:31 to 36 will take place.
Also die Szenen, die wir in Daniel 11, 31 bis 36 finden, werden in der Zukunft stattfinden.
Okay, next bit.
Next.
We see evidence that Satan is fast obtaining the control of human minds who have not the fear of God before them. Right? So what's happening right here?
Was geschieht gerade hier?
What's happening right here, Susie? I'm watching. Right? What did we just talk about? Okay, need to pay attention. What's Satan going to be doing?
Was werde Satan hier tun?
There's evidence that Satan is taking control of human minds,
Also es
right?
gibt Beweis, dass Satan die Kontrolle von menschlichen Verstanden.
Do we see
einnehmen.
evidence out there that Satan is taking control of human minds?
Können wir Beweise daraus sehen, dass das stattfindet?
Yes, in what sense?
Inwiefern?
Yeah, they're rejecting light, right?
Parmender, der den Sabbat verwirft, die verwerfen Licht.
And you can see they're going into all sorts of spiritualism and darkness,
Wir
right?
können sehen, dass sie in alles mögliche Spiritismus und Dunkelheit hineingehen.
So, last part of this quote, it says, "Let all read and understand the prophecies of this book, for we are now entering upon the time of trouble spoken." And she quotes Daniel 12, 1 to 4.
Und jetzt zitiert sie über das Zeit des Trübsals Daniel 12, Verse 1 bis 4.
What does she mean by that?
Was meint sie damit?
Why does she quote Daniel 12, 1 to 4? What is Daniel 12, 1 to 4?
Warum zitiert sie Daniel 12, 1 bis 4? Was ist das überhaupt?
Make your understanding of
Okay, that's what it says, but what is it?
Also, das sagt es, aber was ist das?
end of trouble.
Okay, the close of probations,
Der
right?
Schluss der Gnade.
Why does she say we are now entering Daniel 12, 1 to 4? There's a
Warum
reason for
sagt sie
it.
hier, dass wir jetzt Daniel 12, 1 bis 4 eingehen?
No, we'll explain all in a minute, but okay, I won't. This may be a difficult question, right? How I understand it, right?
So wie ich das verstehe,
When they make that Sunday law,
wenn sie diesen Sonntagsgesetz erlassen,
7 last plagues are coming,
die 7 letzten Plagen sind sicher, die kommen sicher.
and that's Daniel 12.
Und das ist Daniel 12.
But God in His mercy does what?
Aber Gott in seiner Gnade tut was?
He holds the 7 last plagues, right?
Hält die 7 letzten Plagen.
Okay, that's what you have to get. She's putting it there, but she's saying, right, technically speaking, the deadly wound is healed, and now the Lord is justified in smashing the earth with the 7 last plagues.
Also Ellen White, sie markiert Daniel 12 hier, weil wenn dieses Sonntagsgesetz erlassen wird, der Herr werde gerecht, es wäre gerecht, wenn der Herr die Erde mit den 7 letzten Plagen jetzt fallen lässt.
He could justifiably allow the 7 last plagues to fall upon all of us and destroy us, and nobody in any of those planets would murmur or complain.
Es wäre völlig gerecht, wenn der Herr die 7 letzten Plagen hier fallen lassen wird und alle auslöschen werden. Niemand anderem von die anderen Planeten in dem ganzen Universum werde darüber meckern.
Sandra?
Wasn't it the same with Christ's crucifixion also? He delayed the destruction of
He
Jerusalem.
could destroy.
Yes, he delayed the destruction of Jerusalem, but that was to give those that hadn't heard of the truth time, right? The same principle.
Also dasselbe Prinzip, also in der Zerstörung Jerusalems, Christus hat den Zeit gegeben, um den letzten Generationen, die die Wahrheit noch nicht gehört haben, Zeit es zu hören, aber ja, derselbe Prinzip.
Okay, so she's basically putting this, saying, really, what is it? It's the time of the end.
Also sie
Right.
markiert Daniel 12, 1-4 hier. Und was ist das? Das ist die Zeit des Endes.
But where does the time of the end get delayed until?
Aber bis wohin wird der Zeit des Endes verzögert? The time appointed. No. Yes.
Till there, right?
Bis dahin.
They're both the same point, right?
Die sind beide dasselbe Punkt.
But what he does is he stops it right there and puts a bit of time in place of it before he brings that judgment, right?
Aber was er tut, ist, er stoppt es und er fügt ein bisschen Zeit da hinein, bevor Gericht fällt.
Lois?
When you also read the next paragraph, it's also nice because she says then the Spirit of the Lord is being withdrawn from the world.
Yes.
It is no time now for men to exalt themselves. It is no time for
Yes.
the people of God to be erecting costly buildings.
Yes.
So in the sense, she brings all these buildings in place, these costly buildings that are...
Yes, you're not to be spending money on extravagance that's not needed, right? Buildings have to be simple and plain, right?
Also in der Geist der Weissagung, Bruder Lorenz hat den nächsten Absatz, also nicht in den Notizen, sondern der nächste Absatz, die nach der letzte, die wir gelesen haben, hat er gelesen. Und da redet sie darüber, es ist jetzt nicht die Zeit, diese kostbaren Gebäude zu errichten und sowas. Und Bruder Mark sagt, es ist nicht die Zeit, Geld zu investieren in das, was nicht notwendig ist.
what I mean also is because externally, this is the time where they start erecting those great buildings.
Ja,
Okay,
auf
okay.
externe, das ist der Zeit, wo sie fängt an, diese großen Türme also zu errichten, gebaut auf Stolz und die Unterdrückung der Armen und all diese Dinge.
Okay, next quote from CET 102.
So, nächste Zitat in den Notizen von CET 102.
She says, I saw 4 angels who had a work to do on the earth and they were on their way to accomplish it. What were they on their way to accomplish?
So, diese 4 Engel, die waren auf ihrem Weg, um was zu tun?
To loose the 4 winds, right here,
Um
right?
diese 4 Winde loszulassen, gerade hier.
So you just take the quote before, and you take this point, and they're the same point, right?
Also, die Zitat davor und auch dieser Punkt bringen sie zusammen, es ist ein und dasselbe Punkt.
They make that Sunday law, and that's it. The Lord is now going to whack out his wrath, right?
Also die erlassen dieses Sonntagsgesetz und das war's. Der Herr wird seinen Zorn fallen lassen.
But,
That's the why it says they filled up the cup.
yes,
Ellen White sagt, die haben ihren Kelch voll gemacht.
it says, they're on their way to accomplish it. Jesus was clothed with priestly garments. He gazed in pity on the remnant, then raised his hands and with a voice of deep pity cried, My blood, Father, my blood, my blood, my blood. Then I saw what?
Was hat er denn gesehen?
An exceeding bright light.
Äußerst helles Licht.
Right? The one you get that, right? Because I'm going to mark it in here.
Ich werde das hier markieren.
Right? And remember, this exceeding bright light is this, all this here, right? Because it's the angel of Revelation 18, right?
Denkt dran, dieser äußerst helles Licht ist all das hier, denn es ist der Engel aus Offenbarung 18.
Right?
Amen?
It's the last warning, it's the power, it's this worldwide message, it's the closing scenes.
Die letzte Warnung, es ist das Kraft, es ist die weltweite Botschaft, es ist die abschließenden Szenen.
Right? And linked to it, it all comes under this exceeding bright light.
Und
Right?
es wird alles unter diesem Titel äußerst helles Licht fallen.
So then I saw an exceeding bright light come from God, who sat upon the great white throne, and was shed all about Jesus. Then I saw an angel fly with a commission from Jesus, swiftly flying to the 4 angels who had a work to do in the earth, and waving something up and down in his hand, and crying with a loud voice, Hold, 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 until the servants of God are sealed in their forehead. Right? So Christ pleads with the Father to stay the 7 last plagues until the sealing message goes forward, right?
Also Christus, der bittet seinen Vater, diesen 7 letzten Plagen zu halten, bis diese Versiegelungsbotschaft sein Werk tut.
we have no real comprehension of what's going to happen there when they make that Sunday law.
Wir haben wirklich keine wahre Vorstellung, was geschehen werden, wenn sie diesen Sonntagsgesetz erlassen.
It'll be chaos, I'm telling you, absolute chaos.
Es wird Anarchie, Chaos sein.
Next quote.
Nächste Zitat.
We read it this morning.
Das
Right?
haben wir auch heute Morgen gelesen.
This view was given in 1847, when there were very few of the Advent brethren observing the Sabbath, and of these but few supposed that its observance was of sufficient importance to draw a line between the people of God and unbelievers. Now, the fulfillment of that view is beginning to be seen. The commencement of that time of trouble, here mentioned, does not refer to the time when the plague shall begin to pour out, but to a short period just before they are poured out while Christ is in the sanctuary. At that time, while the work of salvation is closing, trouble will be coming on the earth, and the nations will be angry, yet held in check, right?
Zornig, aber zurückgehalten.
So in one quote she says, is Daniel 12:1.
So in einem Zitat, sie sagt, das hier ist Daniel 12,1.
But then she says, Christ stands up and holds it. He holds the four winds in place,
Aber
right?
dann sagt sie, Christus steht auf und hält diese vier Winde zurück.
So now she's telling us, right, there's this time of trouble that comes here, but it's not the seven last plagues that is going to come here,
Aber
right?
jetzt hier sagt sie, das ist diese Zeit des Trübsals, der hier aufkommt, aber das ist nicht die Zeit, wo die 7 letzten Plagen ausgegossen werden.
Right? But this time of trouble comes a short period before they're poured out.
Aber
Right?
diese Zeit des Trübsals kommt eine kurze Periode, bevor die 7 letzten Plagen ausgegossen werden.
So when you take it with the quote before, he holds it until the servants of God can be sealed, right? And then that time of trouble is going to come.
Wenn man das zusammenbringt mit der Zitat davor, also die 7 letzten Plagen werden ausgegossen, die werden aber gehalten, bis die Diener Gottes versiegelt werden.
Next quote.
Nächste Zitat.
At a meeting held in Dorchester, Massachusetts, November 1848, I had been given a view of the proclamation of the sealing message. So she clearly says that the sealing message was to go forward in 1848. Right?
Klar, dass die Versiegelungsbotschaft in 1848 vorangehen soll.
Okay, next quote.
Nächste Zitat.
This is from Great Second Advent Movement, and it's talking about 1848.
So, der große zweite Adventbewegung, und das spricht auch über 1848.
Just at this time, the Seventh-day Adventists were learning from the Scriptures that the Sabbath of the fourth commandment was the sign or seal of the living God, and that the time had arrived for the proclamation of the sealing message of Revelation 10.
Versiegelungsbotschaft von Offenbarung 10, 1 bis 4.
Right? Right, remember, we just read hold, 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 hold until the servants of God are sealed.
Also, denkt dran, wir haben gerade gehört, halt, 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 bis die Diener Gottes versiegelt werden.
And this was the exceeding bright light.
Dass das äußerst helles Licht ist.
And now they're telling us that the sealing message is Revelation 10.
Und jetzt sagen sie hier, dass die Versiegelungsbotschaft ist Offenbarung 10.
Right?
Amen.
Just the whole earth filled with the glory, right?
Das ist, dass die ganze Welt voller der Herrlichkeit Gottes ist.
So when you put all that together, what is the exceeding bright light?
Also, wenn du das alles zusammenbringst, was ist diese äußerst helles Licht?
It's the angel of Revelation
Das
18,
ist der
right?
Engel von Offenbarung 18.
It's those people right here that have this first birth,
Das sind diejenigen hier, die diese erste Geburt durchgehen.
right?
Amen.
Because this typifies this, right?
Das hier schattet das hier voraus.
What comes here?
Was kommt hier?
Exceeding bright light,
Äußerst helles Licht.
right? So we have to understand this, that we know this already, that this, if you put it down underneath that, it's just a parallel, right?
Und wir wissen schon, dass wenn wir den Fraktal von Mitternachtsruf bis zur finalen Untersuchung hier ausdehnen, ist es nur eine Parallelgeschichte zu das hier.
Okay, so next quote.
Nächste Zitat.
It was not until the year 1848 that those advocating the third angel's message had their attention especially called to the 7th chapter of Revelation, to the sealing work. Right? And this is what was quoted when she said, hold, 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 hold. Right?
Yes.
7th of Revelation.
Die siebte Kapitel von Offenbarung war zitiert, wenn sie sagte, halt, 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 halt.
Okay, and now they're marking it with the sealing message in 1848, right?
Die markieren das zusammen mit der Versiegelungsbotschaft von 1848.
As they prayerfully studied this subject, they saw a message to go forth bearing the sign seal of the living God to the world. This message was to prepare a people to stand when the great day of the Lord's wrath should come. Just as this truth was clearly unfolding to their minds and their hearts were becoming imbued with the spirit of it, the great confusion of 1848 among the principalities, kingdoms and empires of Europe broke out, beginning with the riot in Paris on February 22nd. About the same time, the spirit rappings began in the state of New York. So what happened at the same time?
So was geschah gleichzeitig?
Spiritualism, right?
Spiritismus.
She said there's clear evidence that Satan has taken control of the minds of human beings.
Sie
Right?
sagt, dass es gibt klares Beweis, dass Satan den Verstand von Menschen einnimmt.
Spirit rappings, right?
So, diese Klopfen, diese
That was these-
Geistesklopfen.
Knockings in Rochester, New York, right?
Rochester, New York, dieses Klopfen.
Sister White says, soon it will be almost blasphemy to speak against the knocking.
So Ellen White sagt, bald wird es sogar Blasphemie oder Gotteslästerung sein, gegen dieses Klopfen anzusprechen.
Okay, she talks about that at the end of the world. This, what was prefigured there, is pointing down to the end of the world where the whole world is going to believe this to be the power of God.
Sie
Right?
spricht das hier am Ende der Welt. Das, was damals passiert ist, ist es hier auf der Ende der Welt. Bei der ganzen Welt werde glauben, dass dieses Spiritismus ist das Werk Gottes.
Job's first test, what comes down from heaven?
Hiobs erste Prüfung, was kommt vom Himmel herab?
Fire. Right?
Feuer.
What do they call it in the book of Job?
Was nennen sie das in das Buch Hiob?
Von Gott.
They said it's the power of God,
Sie
right?
haben gesagt, das ist das Kraft Gottes.
No, it wasn't the power of God because the Lord said to Satan, it's all your power, right?
Denn wir wissen, dass nicht das Kraft Gottes ist, denn am Anfang wissen wir, dass Gott hat Satan gesagt, das ist dir überlassen jetzt.
Okay, next quote.
Nächstes Zitat.
This is from Advent Review and Sabbath Herald. It says,
Review on Sabbath Herald.
in Revelation 7 we have a description of this marking of the servants of God in their foreheads. An angel comes forth, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hut the earth and sea. These four angels are represented as holding the four winds of the earth. These winds began to blow in the revelation of 1848, but the angels of God have restrained them. Right? So it clearly sticks 1848 with all this illustrations that Sister White saw. Right?
Es ist klar, dass 1848 zusammengebracht worden ist mit all diesen Darstellungen, die Ellen White gesehen hat.
And are still restraining them, that the work of sealing his servants may be accomplished. The seal of the living God, or the sign of his royalty, is contained in the fourth commandment of the 10. Those 10 commandments began to be enforced upon the people under the third angel's message. Right? As we started off, this angel of Revelation 10 is typifying the angel of Revelation 18, which is the third angel's message.
Der Engel von Offenbarung 10 schattet der Engel von Offenbarung 18 voraus, was der dritte Engelsbotschaft ist.
Those 10 commandments began to be enforced upon the people under the third angel's message near the time of the restraining of the four winds. We understand the Laodicean period began about 1848. Right, so, anyway, next quote.
Nächster Zitat.
Right, we're not going to read this, but this is this quote from First Testimonies that talks about the famine, war, pestilence, little time of peace, then famine, war, pestilence comes again. Right?
Also das ist vom ersten Band der Zeugnisse, das werden wir nicht lesen, aber das spricht über diese Hungersnot und Seuche und Krieg und dann diese kleine Zeit des Friedens und dann wiederholt sich Hungersnot und Krieg und so weiter.
Okay, so what I want you to see, Sister White says 1847 is this time of trouble, right?
So, was ich möchte, dass ihr 1847?
She spoke in 1847,
okay.
she says this is this time of trouble.
Was ich möchte, dass ihr seht, ist, dass wenn Ellen White in 1847 gesprochen hat über, dass das hier diese kleine Zeit, dass dieses
And she parallels it to Daniel 11:31 to 36.
Dass das hier der Zeit des Trübsals ist und sie vergleicht es mit Daniel 11, 31 bis 36.
So she's talking about the time of trouble. She's talking about the whole time of the 1260 from here to here.
So, wenn sie über diese Zeit des Trübsals spricht, sie spricht über diese gesamte Periode von der 1260 von hier bis zu Ende.
But under that time of trouble, there's how many troubles?
Aber innerhalb dieser Zeit des Trübsals gibt es wie viele Zeiten des Trübsals?
2.
2.
This cross in the middle, you got 1216, 1260.
Also dieser
Right?
Kreuz in der Mitte, man hat 1260 gefolgt von 1260.
Right?
Amen.
So, in one sense, you got Cestius to Titus, right?
In gewissen Maßen hast du Cestius bis Titus hin.
Titus marks 7 last plagues,
Und
right?
Titus markiert die 7 letzten Plagen.
But as we were discussing yesterday, right?
Aber so wie wir gestern gesprochen haben,
Cestius and Titus.
Cestius hier und Titus kommt hier.
Okay, because 1260, right? It's marking
1260.
4 winds are loosed here, second woe, right?
Also die 4 Winde werden hier losgelassen, das zweite Wehe.
7 plagues,
7 Plagen.
right? So in the time of trouble, there's 2 times of trouble. right?
Innerhalb der Zeit des Trübsals gibt es 2 Zeiten des Trübsals.
And there's a quote that I read the other week, right? That says when they were talking about the second time of trouble in this quote in 1 Testimonies,
Eine Zitat, die ich vielleicht für eine Woche gelesen habe, die sprechen über diese zweiten Zeit des Trübsals, so wie hier in 1. Band des Zeugnisses erwähnt ist.
they believed that that time of trouble right there was the 7 last plagues.
Die haben geglaubt, dass die zweiten Zeit des Trübsals hier war, die 7 letzten Plagen.
Right? So, okay, now remember I'm saying, right, you got an exceeding bright light here, Revelation 18. What do you have here?
Also denkt dran, ein äußerst helles Licht, Offenbarung 18 hier. Was hat man hier?
Same thing, right?
Also dasselbe.
It's the last warning,
Das ist der letzte Warnung.
right? So, under this time of trouble, what do you have?
Also unter dieser Zeit des Trübsals, was hat man?
2 times of trouble.
2 Zeiten des Trübsals.
It's these repeating patterns,
Das
right?
ist diese wiederholende Muster.
Right? You got to see that,
Du musst das sehen.
okay? Because it's very important, because you're going to have to explain this. You're going to have to prove this before kings and rulers.
Wir mussten dies erklären, wir mussten dies beweisen vor Könige und Regierende.
And you must say it with such confidence, right? It will drive a sword right into the depths of their heart.
Und wir mussten es mit solcher Gewissheit und Überzeugung sagen, dass es ein Schwert im Kern ihrem Herzen durchdringen wird.
Because Sister White parallels now, because these 2 times of trouble, we know, were the First and Second World Wars.
Und Ellen White vergleicht das jetzt, weil wir wissen, dass diese 2 Zeiten des Trübsals waren vorausgestattet durch die Erste und Zweite Weltkriege.
Okay? And, but yet in the next quote from CET 111,
Aber in dem nächsten Zitat von CET 111
she talks about AD 48,
sie
right?
spricht über 1848.
We've read this quote so many times, it talks about these 2 times of trouble,
Right?
right?
Dieses Zitat so oft gelesen, spricht über diese 2 Zeiten des Trübsals.
Shaking of the earth, followed by the shaking of the heavens and
Die
the earth.
Erschütterung der Erde, gefolgt von Erschütterung der Himmel und Erde.
Shaking of the earth, shaking of the heavens and the earth.
Erschütterung der Erde und hier Erschütterung der Himmel und Erde.
Okay?
Amen.
So, come down to Daniel, go to Daniel 10 and verse 1 now.
So gehen wir zu Daniel 10 und Vers 1.
We're back to this point, right? It says, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, which is right here,
So, wir
right?
sind wieder an diesem Punkt angekommen, in der 3. Jahr von Kyros, was gerade hier ist.
Which is right here,
Was auch hier ist.
right?
Amen.
So, go to Daniel 10 and verse 13,
Daniel 10 jetzt und Vers 13.
because Daniel 10:1 he's had all this revealed to him, and he's just telling you the story, right?
So Daniel 10,1, der hat das alles bereits geoffenbart bekommen, er erzählt nur die Geschichte.
So in verse 13 it says, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days." Right?
Amen.
So it's marking it's marking something. Whenever this angel comes, what does it do?
So, wenn auch immer dieser Engel herabkommt, was tut es?
What's he bringing?
Was bringt er?
Light, exceeding bright light,
Also
right?
er bringt Licht. Hier äußerst helles Licht bringt er mit.
It's bringing exceeding bright light.
Wieder hier auch äußerst helles Licht.
Okay, and it's all a revelation of what's going to happen in the latter days,
Es
right?
ist alles eine Offenbarung über das, was in den letzten Tagen stattfinden wird.
Okay, so because then what it does, because Daniel 10 is Daniel 11 in verse 2,
Denn Daniel 10 ist Daniel 11 in Vers 2.
right?
Amen.
It says Daniel 10, verse 1 there, is Daniel 11 in verse 2. It's the same point in time.
Und Vers 1 ist Daniel 11 in Vers 2. Es ist derselbe Zeitpunkt.
Right?
Amen.
It's real simple. In Daniel 10:1, he's at the end of his experience and he's explaining his experience, and he goes right through all the way through Daniel, all the way to the end of Daniel, the book of Daniel even.
So, Daniel 10,1, der hat bereits seine Vision gehabt und er steht da und gibt nur eine Erklärung von all das, was...
In verse 2, isn't he standing at the time of the
Okay, we'll come to that point in a moment. So, in verse 2?
Yes, because this...
No. Let's not go there, right? We'll come to that point in a minute. I'm just making the point that Daniel 11 verse 2, right? Let me just open my Bible.
Also Daniel 11, Vers 2.
Because it says, "And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia." Right? So when did Michael come and unfold to Daniel the truth, or unfold to Daniel the truth of Daniel 11 and forward?
So, wann ist Michael zu Daniel gekommen und hat ihm die Wahrheit über Daniel 11 und voran geoffenbart?
In the 3rd year of Cyrus, right?
Der dritte Jahr von Kyros.
Right? Because he's praying these 3 weeks.
Denn
Michael comes down and unveils it to him,
er
right?
betet diese 3 Wochen und Michael kommt herab und offenbart es ihm.
So he's standing here in verse 2 and he's out unveiling to him all this exceeding bright light,
Er
right?
steht hier im Vers 2 und bekommt dieses äußerst helles Licht zu ihm geoffenbart. Right?
Yes, but in verse 1, he takes him back to...
It doesn't matter, I'll explain that in a minute. I'm just one step at a time, these arguments, right? I'm just saying the point is that he's praying for 3 weeks, Michael comes down and he's now at that point where, and he says it right there, "And now I will show thee the truth," right?
So, er betet 3 Wochen, Michael kommt herab und dann sind wir an den Punkt gekommen in Vers 2 und jetzt werde ich dir die Wahrheit offenbaren.
Right?
Amen.
That's all I want us to consent to at this point.
Das ist
Right?
alles, was ich möchte, dass wir jetzt an diesem Punkt sehen.
Doesn't it mean that the first, because he stands in the 3rd year, right? And then in verse 1 he brings him to the time of the end and says, "Now, after I brought you to the time of the end, I will show you the truth." Because he stands at 1989, right? And this is 3 kings and then the 4th. Because he's not standing at 9/11, it says 3 kings.
No, nonsense. It's not true. Because he's in the histories. He's in the 3rd year of Cyrus when he's telling them this. So he's not literally at the time of the end.
No, but therefore he inserts verse 1.
No. I'm not caring what he's trying to take his mind to. I'm talking about where he's standing literally. Right? He's standing at the same point in time where he's standing in Daniel 10:1. That's not difficult.
So, hier in Daniel 11,2 steht an derselbe Punkt in der Zeit wie Daniel 10,1.
So this I don't... This is
Okay, that's all I'm saying, right? Christ coming down here is the third year of Cyrus. That's where he's unveiling to him this vision. Right?
Christus hier herabkommt, ist der 3. Jahr von Kyros, da offenbart er ihm diese Vision.
Okay. What he's trying to show us, that's another thing, right?
Was
That's
er
not
uns
what I'm getting.
zeigen möchte, das ist ja wiederum was ganz anderes, aber darum möchte ich jetzt nicht eingehen.
Okay. So, the exceeding bright light, the point I'm making, is Christ unfolding these prophecies to us, right?
Also das äußerst helles Licht, das ist Christus, der diese Prophezeiungen uns entfaltet und erklärt.
Right?
Amen?
Okay. One point at a time.
So, eins nach dem anderen.
So, now, the verse prior to that, this is the point that Lawrence is making.
Also
right?
der Vers davor, und das ist der Punkt, den Bruder Lorenz macht.
Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. So, question. When Gabriel came in the first year of Cyrus, right here,
Also wenn Gabriel in der erste Jahr von Kyros hier ankam,
what vision did he give him?
welche Vision hat er ihm gegeben?
It was Daniel 9, right?
Daniel 9.
And he also came a bit prior to that, right? What vision did he give him there?
Und ein bisschen davor ist er auch gekommen. Welche Vision hat er da gegeben?
Daniel 8,
Daniel
right?
8.
So, but Daniel 7, Daniel 8, Daniel 9, they're all pointing to here,
Aber
right?
Daniel 7, 8 und 9 weisen alle auf diesen Punkt hin.
So, the point I understand, right, is that Gabriel is just tying in this Weimar to this Weimar, just like we've been doing all through this presentation.
So wie ich verstehe es, Gabriel verbindet nur diese Wegmarke mit dieser Wegmarke. So genau das, was wir durch diesen ganzen Vortrag gemacht haben.
Right?
Amen.
Now, remember the point, because you'll get this point in a moment. The 7 thunders, right?
Also die 7 Donner,
First and second angels' messages,
erste und zweite Engelsbotschaft,
the 46 years.
46 Jahre.
Where is all that perfectly fulfilled?
Wo wird all das auf perfekte Weise erfüllt?
This little box, right?
Diese kleine Teil hier, 6. bis 9. Stunde.
So what is this from here to here?
So was ist das von hier bis hier? Third angel's message.
It's the time of the end to the closed door,
Es ist das Zeit des Endes bis zur geschlossenen Tür.
right?
Amen.
You've also got the exceeding bright light here, which is this Weimar.
Auch die äußerst helles Licht hier, was diese Wegmarke ist, gerade hier.
Okay, so what I want us to understand is that in this one, the Lord wants us to understand these different fractals and how this one, they're all marking this same point in time.
Also hier, was der Herr möchte uns zeigen, ist, dass diese Fraktal und diese Fraktal und all die verschiedenen Sachen, was sie heißen, markieren diese Zeitpunkt hier.
Right?
Amen.
In one sense.
In eine gewisse Art.
Each box.
Yeah, each one of these boxes is the same as this box.
Also jeder von diesen Boxen ist dasselbe wie das hier.
Right? So
Amen.
they've each got the beginning waymark, the beginning waymark, and the beginning waymark right there.
Jeder haben diese Anfangswegmarke alle hier markiert.
But it's also showing us this principle of the time of the end to the closed door, which is the 7 thunders.
Aber es zeigt uns auch dieses Prinzip von der Zeit des Endes bis zur geschlossenen Tür, was die 7 Donnern ist.
Which is the 46 years.
Was diese 46 Jahre sind.
And the 46 is the 2 tables, which is the 2 witnesses.
Und die 46, das sind die 2 Tafeln, was auch gleich die 2 Zeugnisse
And
sind.
what happens to the 2 witnesses right here?
Und was geschieht mit den 2 Zeugnissen gerade hier?
They get delivered up.
Die werden ausgeliefert.
And the whole earth is going to be lightened with the glory right here when that door is opened, right?
Und die ganze Erde wird erleuchtet mit der Herrlichkeit, wenn der Tür geöffnet wird.
Which is the
Jesaja,
exceeding bright light.
was diese äußerst helles Licht ist, also die Tür zum Heiligtum.
So, although when you take it piece by piece, right, it's got Gabriel and Christ standing here unfolding these prophecies to Daniel, we know the perfect fulfillment of it is in this period right here.
So,
Right?
obwohl wir Christus und Gabriel Stück für Stück diese verschiedenen Sachen den Daniel hier offenbaren, Wir wissen das auf perfekte Weise, dass es alles hier drin erfüllt wird.
Okay, so is it correct right here he's opening up Daniel and Revelation to us?
So ist das korrekt, dass wir hier Daniel und der Offenbarung geoffenbart bekommen?
Yeah, right. It's
Natürlich.
been unsealed, right?
Es wird entsiegelt.
That's why we understand all these wonderful things that we're understanding now.
Darum verstehen wir all diese wunderbaren Sachen, die wir jetzt verstehen.
But when we understand that really this is the perfect fulfillment of the time of the end, where the message is going to be unsealed like it's never been unsealed before.
Und wenn wir es
Right?
perfekt verstehen, also gerade hier zu dieser Zeit des Endes, da wird es entsiegelt werden, wie es noch nie zuvor entsiegelt worden ist.
Okay.
Also just when we began to be unsealed.
Sorry?
It's a process to unseal. Because, it's like the increase of knowledge till it's formulated, all of these things. So at the Sunday law till the midnight cry is an increase of knowledge, from the midnight cry till the ninth hour is an increase of knowledge.
But
Till
what
the
is?
ninth hour is fully
but-
open the book.
Okay, but what is the increase in knowledge?
Was ist der Zuwachs an
It's the
Erkenntnis?
settling into the truth intellectually and spiritually that you cannot be moved,
Es ist das
right?
verankert werden in der Wahrheit, geistlich und
Intellect.
intellektuell und geistlich, sodass man nicht verrückt wird.
Okay, so based upon all that then, when the four winds are loosed here, what's Christ going to say?
Also basierend darauf, wenn die 4 Winde hier gelöst werden, was werde Christus sagen?
Hold, 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 until the servants of God are sealed in their forehead.
So halt, bis die Knechte Gottes in ihrem Stirn versiegelt werden.
Right? So all teaching us, this whole waymark is teaching us about what's going to repeat right here.
Diese
Right?
ganze Wegmarke hier lehrt uns, was hier sich wiederholen wird.
How do we know that?
Woher wissen wir
Because
das?
First Testimonies 268 or 268 telling us that this time of trouble is just going to be repeated right here.
Der
Right?
erste Band des Zeugnis 268 sagt uns, dass diese Zeit des Trübsals wird sich hier wiederholen.
Right?
Amen.
So, okay, we will finish at that point. We will take up some more things about this tomorrow.
So, wir werden hier für heute beenden und mehr darüber morgen.
But does everybody see how very precise everything's coming together?
Kann jeder sehen, wie genau alles hier zusammenkommt.
So, what you have to do is you have to draw these lines like they are, right? And see how those things are molded down to the next stage and how Christ wants you to bring it down to the next stage, right?
So, wir müssen diese Linien auszeichnen und jeder Punkt sehen, wie Christus das alles in den einen Linie auf den nächsten bringen wird und den nächsten und so weiter.
Okay? Because, just last verse, go to Luke 21.
Denn in Lukas 21, letzter Vers,
Okay, verse 21.
Vers 21.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries thereof enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Right? All things. Every story in the Bible, everything that's been written is going to be fulfilled, right? So Christ is unfolding all things to us, right?
Alles, was in der Bibel geschrieben werden, wird uns entfaltet sein.
Right?
All things about the 7 aspects.
Yes,
So
because,
that's perfectly fulfilled in the 7 aspects.
yes, it's all perfectly fulfilled in the because
Es wird alles perfekt in den 7 letzten Plagen erfüllt werden.
we know that this is Titus right here, and this is the point we were talking about last night.
Wir wissen, dass das Titus hier markiert ist.
Titus is the 7 last plagues,
Titus ist die 7 letzten Plagen.
being prefigured here,
Also
right?
hier vorausgeschattet.
So you're typifying those people that have it when the door closes, that have on their wedding garment that stand through the 7 last plagues.
Du schattest die voraus, die den Hochzeitsgewand anhaben, wenn die Tür schließt und durch die 7 letzten Plagen hindurchgehen.
Right?
Amen.
So just keep that thought right there in your mind, right?
So, haltet diese Gedanken im Verstand.
So we're right here where that little X is, right?
So, wir sind gerade hier, wo diese kleine Echse ist.
There's going to be a little time of peace, right?
Es wird eine kleine Zeit des Friedens geben.
And we need to get our hearts right, right?
Wir müssen unsere Herzen ins Rechten bringen.
Because what's coming?
Denn was kommt?
We have got no idea how terrible what's coming is going to come.
Wir haben keine Ahnung, keine Vorstellung von wie schrecklich es sein wird, was auf uns zukommt.
So we know that it's a type, but I guarantee, because we now understand this the way we understand it, this right here will be an eye-opener for us all.
Also wir wissen, dass es zwar nur ein Typus ist, aber basierend auf das, was wir verstehen, selbst wenn es nur ein Typus ist, das hier wird auf jeden Fall alle Augen weit aufreißen.
That's why we need to get out of those cities. The people have no idea. It might think it's bad now. Wait till we get here.
Darum müssen wir aus diesen Städten herauskommen. Also die Leute denken, dass es hier schlimm ist, wartet, bis wir hier ankommen.
Amen.
Amen.
Mhm.
Let's close with prayer.